The President, please be seated. The court is back in session. I hand over the floor to the prosecution to resume his line of questioning. I would like to remind the prosecutor, however, that you should reserve some time for the defense team, for Mr. Nguyen Chia to put question to this particular witness if they wish to do so. You may proceed, Mr. Prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Nguyen Chia defense is signaled to me that they don't need any time unless they wish to contradict me on that. So we can go on till 4 o'clock with the civil party lawyers unless, of course, the Nguyen Chia defense decrees otherwise. So, Mr. Witness, you said you recognized two names on that K1 staff list. We talked about Lin and Tan. Can you tell us if Bang Lin was the same person as Ken, who you mentioned a while ago, or were these two different people?
Well, they were the same person. Lim and Kain were the same person.
Très bien. Thank you. How did you know Bang Tan, who was head of K1 office, when you were driving Khieu Samphan to K1? Did you take the Lambretta inside the compound of K1, or did you stay outside?
I stayed outside the premise of K1, and I knew that Tan was the chairman of K1 office. I heard it from others.
D'accord, je reviens. Thank you. Coming back to some points that were raised with Mrs. Soso Chit at the hearing from 10th to the 12th of June last, one of the items concerned banquets that Khieu Samphan may have attended. Mr. Chung, did you ever drive Mr. Khieu Samphan in the evening or by night so that he could attend banquets or cultural evenings in different places like embassies, hotels, state edifices, theatres and so forth?
Well, to my recollection, I don't think that that happened when I was working for him. He never met any friends or visited anywhere far. I did not know that he had any party with anyone.
Might it be possible that Khieu Samphan had gone with other leaders from K3 to attend these evenings? In other words, go along in Nguyen Chia or Yeng Sari's vehicle and attend that kind of soiree without you?
The President, witness, please hold on. Madam Counsel for Mr. Khieu Samphan, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. An objection, if I may, to the way in which that question was put. Might it be possible that? I think it would be better not to invite the witness to speculate, but simply to ask him if he ever remembered days when Kyo Sampon went with somebody else, rather than asking him to speculate. That's the way this question is worded that I'm worried about. The prosecutor, I will reword it. Mr. Witness, if you yourself did not drive Kyo Sampon in the evening, was there anybody else who was designated to do the driving when it had to be done in the evening or by night?
At that time, as far as I can recall, he did not go anywhere at night, and there was one driver dedicated to each leader, and I was the only driver for him.
Do you know if Kyo Sampon ever came back in Nunchia or Yang Sari's car? Did you ever see that?
As I have said many times already, I never saw it, at least during the period when I was working with him for approximately 7 or 8 months. I never saw it.
Thank you. Just to reignite your memory, I might just mention Phoebus documents that refer to a certain number of banquets that Kyo Sampon attended. Phoebus are transcriptions of radio broadcasts made during democratic Cambodia. And just to ask you for your reaction, on the 28th of May 1978, there was a banquet for the Romanian president, and in E3/1363, that's a Phoebus broadcast, 00169785 is the ERN in English, and I don't have the ERNs in the other languages. On the 23rd of July 1978, there was a banquet given by the Egyptian ambassador, which is contained in E3/293 on the 25th of July 1978. And there were other banquets for the anniversary of the CPK. There was one for a Chinese delegation in November, one given by the Yugoslav ambassador on the 28th of November 1978. All of these are to be found in the Phoebus documents. Do you ever remember, for example, the visit of the Romanian president at the end of May 1978?
Yes, I do, but it took place in 1977 instead. At that time, I was working at K12, and I heard the broadcast about that news. But at that time, I was still working at K12. I was not yet assigned to drive for Mr. Kyo Sampon.
Je confirme que c'est bien.
I just want to confirm that this is a document dating from the 28th of May 1978. You said just now that during Mill's arrest you had already left for K3, and we saw a document that said that Mill was arrested on the 8th of May 1978, and you said that you came to K3 in April 1978. Can you confirm that, or do you now believe you reached K3 after the visit of the Romanian president?
Well, I do not recall it clearly, but to my recollection, the Romanian president visited Cambodia, and then after that period, I went to work as Mr. Kyu Sampon driver.
Several times in your interview record, you said you had heard information on radio or on loudspeakers. That's the case on page 6 and on page 8. In K3, did you have a radio? And were some of the programs actually broadcast through loudspeakers?
Most of the time, we listen to the radio broadcast. I could only hear through the loudspeaker when I was driving along the road, because in front of each ministry there was loudspeaker and announcement on that loudspeaker. But most of the time I heard it over the radio broadcast.
Did Kyu Sampan and his wife have their own radio in K3? Were you able to observe that?
I did not know about his wife, but as for Mr. Kyu Sampon, he had a small handheld radio for himself, but I did not know which language he was listening to, but he did have a radio with him to listen to.
Merci.
This morning, before the defense finished their questions, you made a statement in which you said that if people didn't believe what you were saying, that we could look at Kyu Sampan's house in the countryside. Can you tell me if after 1979...
The President. Mr. Prosecutor, could you please repeat your last part of your statement, because the interpretation did not come through.
D'accord.
Thank you. Before the defense questions ended, you closed, Mr. Witness, by saying that Kyu Sampan was a respectable man and that if anybody didn't believe you, they could go and see the house that he lived in the country. Now, can you tell us if, after 1979, you had an opportunity to see Kyu Sampan's house? And can you tell us where it was?
This morning, I did not say that he lived in the countryside at that time, but I said he lived in a very modest means. And as I said again and again, that I had a respect for him, but that was confined to me. Only I am not overgeneralizing that Cambodian people view him as a respectable person. I can only comment it to my personal experience. When I was living with him for a period of around 8 months or so, I observed that he was a gentle, a very kind person. And I think that we have to make a clear distinction on this issue, because I did not say that his house was in the countryside, but he at that time lived in the city, but his way of living was quite modest. And I find that his way of living was respectable. He was a leader at that time, but at the end of the day, he had nothing left. So I respected him for that. He did not want to have things for himself as a leader at that time.
I'd like to come back to Khieu Samphan's work when you were in his service in 1978, and on page 4 of the record in E3385, on page 4 you said that Khieu Samphan did not go out very often, while Ieng Sary, on the other hand, had a good deal of work and had to go out quite often. Later on page 8 of the same document, you are asked, do you think Khieu Samphan was a powerful person? And you said, I don't think so, because it seemed that he did not have much work to do. Most of the time he stayed in Phnom Penh. End of quote. Mr. Leung Chung, you have given a certain number of your impressions to this hearing and to the investigators as well, but here we're trying to establish facts, so let's attempt to do this together. I know that you were only 14 or 15 at the time and that it's no easy task to recall all of this, but through your 14 or 15-year-old's eyes, would you say that it was necessary to leave K3 quite often to fulfill certain tasks?
Well, I do not really understand this question. I'm afraid I do not get the thrust of your question.
Well, you said that Khieu Samphan didn't leave very often, but that on the other hand, Ieng Sary had a lot of work and that took him outside quite often. Now, can you tell us that when you were working for Khieu Samphan, tell us if leaving K3 often was tantamount to having a lot of work to do?
Yes, that was my personal observation of that. Those who went outside very often, this person had a lot of things to do, but those who most of the time stayed at home must not have much thing to do. That is my personal judgment on this.
Vous avez dit tout à l'heure n'être pas rentré.
Earlier you said that you'd never been inside Khieu Samphan's house. Do you agree with me in saying that you could not actually know what Khieu Samphan was doing at home, if he was working or not, or in an office in K3?
Yes, indeed, I did not know because I was staying outside.
Alors, à la page 4
So on page 4 of E3385, you said that there wasn't a meeting room in K3 and you never saw the leaders getting together, but that there was a dining hall with a long table. And just now you said that the leaders ate in a different place to you, and you also told us that you were not entitled to attend the meetings of the leaders. So is it fair to say that in actual fact you could not say that the leaders didn't have any meetings, for example, during their meals, or that they didn't meet in the refectory that you're talking about? Do you agree that you didn't actually know if the leaders were meeting or not?
You're right. I did not know. I did not know whether or not they would gather in that place. And when he also ate in a different place as well. And if they gathered, I did not know the subject matter of their discussion either, because I was not involved.
Il y a un témoin.
One witness who testified here, called Pin Kin, told us when he appeared on the 3rd of May 2012, transcription E1/72.1, at about 10:20, he said that as I saw it at the time, K3 was a place where the party leaders met. Pol, Ain, Nonchea, Sun Sen, all of whom met. I saw those people in K3, I saw them going in and coming out of the compound. End of quote. Did you know Mr. Pin Kin, and do you agree with what he said when he testified?
For Pin Kin statement, I did not know, but according to my personal experience, I did not agree with his statement, because he said there was a meeting held over there, but during my entire time at K3, there was no such a meeting over there at K3.
But Mr. Witness, you've just told us that you agreed with me that you didn't know whether or not there were meetings, and that you also didn't know what the subject matter of the meetings were. Let's change the subject. K1, I'd like to read an extract from your testimony to the investigators, because earlier you said that when you drove Kyosampan around, he sometimes stayed for 1 hour or sometimes for half an hour for different meetings. And on page 5, what you said was, I often drove him to the K1 office 2 or 3 times a week. Each time he left the K1 office after 2 or 3 hours, and sometimes half an hour. There I saw Yengsari and Nonchea also enter the K1 office. I knew that they were Yengsari and Nonchea because I met their drivers who were waiting like me. I did not know what the meetings were about. End of quote. Can you confirm that there were frequent meetings in K1? You said that there were meetings 2 or 3 times a week, and that they lasted between 2 and 3 hours.
The President, witness, please hold on. And counsel for Mr. Kyosampan, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, I'm worried about the wording here. The witness is saying that he took Mr. Kyosampan on visits and he stayed outside the K1 building. So when you talk about meetings lasting from 1 to 2 hours or 3 hours, we are conjecturing. The witness just talks about visits, but he doesn't know what's happening inside. The prosecutor is deducing things here, and in the question, I think alternative wording should consequently be used. The prosecutor, I agree that I did mention the word meeting while the witness did not. Mr. Witness, do you confirm that you went to K1 with Mr. Kyosampan 2 or 3 times a week, and in general for times of 2 or 3 times each, and sometimes just for half an hour?
Yes, that is correct. It is as what you described, but it was not a regular visit. But in 1 week, he would visit that place, but it was not regular, and I did not know what he did over there. It took him sometime half an hour, sometime 2 hours, 3 hours. I did not know what he did over there.
Est-ce qu'il est arrivé que
Did Kyusampan ever stay longer than 3 hours in K1? Did he sometimes stay a whole day? Did he sometimes sleep there?
To my knowledge, no, he never stayed overnight. At least during the period I stayed with him, never did he stay over there.
Alors, rapidement.
Let's quickly come back to what you said earlier. And in your interview record on page 8, you said that Kyusampan received visitors 2 or 3 times during the time you worked with him. For example, diplomats came to submit their letters of credentials to him, and that the office for that was behind the royal palace. Are you certain that this only occurred 2 or 3 times during the 9 or 10 months that you were working for him? Or is it really the case that you can't quite remember?
I can respond to your question based on my recollection. I dare not speculate in my answer. Of course, he went there, and I knew that there was a presentation of credential through radio broadcast. And then when I drove him over there, I actually heard from the radio. He never told me that he would go there to receive the foreign diplomat.
J'ai relevé dans
in FIBIS documents and others on the file that there were at least 11 ambassadors who gave him their letters of credentials between April 78 and December 78. I'm not going to go into the details of all that, but would you agree to say that it could have been more than 2 or 3 times over that period? There was, for example, the ambassador of Tunisia, April 1978. Norway, the 6th of April, Malaysia, 18th of June, Guinea, Japan, Burma, North Korea, Pakistan, Nepal, Turkey, Switzerland. Now, in your estimation, are we still talking about 2 or 3 times, or might it possibly be more?
The President. Witness, please hold on. International Counsel for Mr. Kyusampan, you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. President. In order that we may all be able to follow the exchange between the prosecutor and the witness, it would be important for the co-prosecutor to give us a reference of the FBIS document. The first is dated April 78, is E3/1361. And dates 3rd of April. In English it is 00168782. It was translated into French 007000200. I do not have the ERN in Khmer, so it's dated the 3rd of April 1978. And the 6th of April 1978, on that date, the Norwegian ambassador gave his letters of credentials, the ERN in English 0016 8791. On the 18th of June 1978, the Malaysian ambassador tendered his letters of credentials, and this is E31363. The ERN in English is 00169830. Or 31, last figure. 13th of August 1978, letters of credentials by the Guinean ambassador, document E3175. And the ERN in English is 00168963. Then we have E376, dated 3rd of September 1978. Letters of credentials handed in by the Japanese ambassador, in English 00170348. 2nd of October 1978. Letters of credentials by the ambassador of Burma, document E3/294. And the page in English is 00170198. Then we have the 8th of October 1978, letters of credentials from the North Korean ambassador, document E3/294. And the page ERN is 00170219. And lastly, we have 4 ambassadors who handed in their letters of credentials on the 3rd of December 1978. Those of Pakistan, Nepal, Turkey, and Switzerland. It is document E3/295. The ERN is 00169050 in English. I will not go into other visits. We have the visit from the Yugoslavia representative in 1978. The number is E3/1362. In English, the ERN is 00169981. We have others. You have the Algerian president, and so on and so forth. My question to you, witness, is this. At that age of 14, 15, is your memory still reliable when you say that he received foreign guests only on 3 occasions, or 2 or 3 occasions? Or do you think he might have received foreign guests on many other occasions?
Response. So far as I remember, we could receive guests on a few occasions. And when you asked me to exactly say how many times, and I am afraid I cannot do that because I don't want to speculate. And he might have received some foreigners before I came to work with him, but that's still speculation.
Bien, alors, peut-être dernière.
Very well, perhaps this is my last question to you. Did you drive Kyo Sampan to a number of warehouses, that is state warehouses? In the record of your interview read out to you a while ago, you talked about the warehouse on the banks of the river. Did you drive Mr. Kyo Sampan to Tultumpung, to the Kilometer 6 state warehouse, that is Sheng Shamres as well, in 1978?
Response. Yes, I did drive him there to the place, but I did not know it was a warehouse because he didn't tell me that he would be going to the warehouse. There was a place in Trang Chomres location where he asked me to take him to. He would be there briefly, then he asked me to bring him back.
Quand vous dites qu'il y est resté,
When you state that he was there for a very short time, did he alight from the vehicle on that occasion?
Response: No, he did not get off the car. He just looked around and in the car, then we returned.
bon, est-ce que
Well, did you also drive Mr. Kyo Sampang, Mr. Kyo Sampan, I beg your pardon, to Bang Trabek?
Response: No, I don't remember having driven him to that place.
vous ne vous en souvenez pas? Est-ce que cela veut dire
You do not recall. Does that mean that you are not sure? Does it mean that it is possible that you went there or not?
Response: I just don't remember, so for that reason I will decline to speculate.
Très bien, merci Monsieur le témoin d'avoir.
Very well. Thank you, witness, for answering my questions. I have no further questions for you. Thank you, Mr. President.
The President, thank you. We would like to now hand over to the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties. Counsel Pick Ong. Good afternoon, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Your Honors. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I have very few questions. I am Pick Ong, representing civil parties who are victims. I would like to ask a few questions for the sake of clarification. Can you tell the chamber what you do now? Response: Yes, I can. Currently, I am a national police in Sampolun district. Question: Can you also tell the chamber your rank as the police officer? Response: I am the deputy chief of the statistics office in Sampolun district. Thank you, say counsel. You just said Mr. Kyusampon is gentle and he is good at educating people. Now, do you still recall the content of the education? For example, what he taught those people back then? The President, Mr. Witness, could you please hold on, and counsel for Mr. Kyusampon, you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. President, I object to this question because I do not remember when the witness said that Mr. Kyosampan was fit to teach. Can counsel give the references? Because I didn't hear the witness make any reference to that.
Counsel Pick on Mr. President, I didn't say that Mr. Kyosampon was good at teaching people. But just now, witness talked to the prosecutor who said that Khieu Samphan is able or was able to educate people. So my question is more or less about the content of the education session he would conduct for the people he would like to educate. So I just would like to follow up the question already or response the witness already made. The President, the objection is not sustained. Witness is now directed to respond to the question by legal lawyers for the civil parties. Response. Khieu Samphan was a kind of role model person, a person who is good that we could follow. And he didn't say much about this kind of education, but the way he acted made us feel that he is a proper person, a good person that we should follow. Counsel, I think you are not answering my question, and you said you just followed what he did. My question to you is, what exactly did he instruct or teach people that made you believe that he a good person? Can you do that to us, please? Response. I don't remember the substance of such a good words education he offered us. It was a long time ago. I'm afraid I can't remember. Question. Did he also talk something about economization or being economical? Response. He once talked about this. He asked us to be very careful with you think things, like be economical. Question. Can you be more precise on this? Can you be more precise when you refer to him being vocal on economization? Response. I can't go further from this. I only know that he educated us to be careful, or in other words, waste not, want not. Question. You said that you would take Khieu Samphan somewhere about 5 to 10 kilometers in the outskirts of Phnom Penh. Do you still remember what would be the most interesting things Mr. Khieu Samphan would express his opinion about? Or did he also have more impression on the people he met? Response. I think I did not really take good notice of this because I was too young. And as I told you, if I were as old as I am today, I would be able to observe this more precisely. So again, I can say that I did not take good notice of his observation or impression. Question. When you drove him to different places, did you hear him say anything? Response. I don't remember, but mostly we did not converse during the time when I was driving for him. Counsel, thank you for answering these questions, but I may ask you another question for clarification. You stated that you took Khieu Samphan to K1 every week. Can you tell the chamber what time of the day did you usually take him there? Response. Normally, I would take him there in the mornings or afternoons, but that's something that happened long ago. But I can say, yes, he was taken to the places in the morning mainly. Question, did you also drive him in the afternoon? In particular, during the time when you had lunch together with him, did you ever take him for lunch? Response. No, I don't know anything about this because I would never join lunch with him because he would have lunch in his home, and there was a partition on the wall that blocked the two places where he stayed and where I stayed. Question, did you ever then take him for lunch? I mean, drive him for during lunchtime? Response. No, never. That's what I remember. But after 2 or 3 p.m., I remember having driven him some places. Question. I have the last question regarding this point. When you drove Mr. Khieu Samphan to K1, did you ever notice that other people also were coming to this place to attend perhaps a meeting? Response. I don't know because my role was mainly to drive him, and after he was dropped, I would have to leave and the gate would be closed, and for that I have no idea who would be coming. But yes, on some occasions I would see the drivers of some of them, including driver for Mr. Nuon Chea at the vicinity. Counsel, thank you, Mr. Witness, for responding to my questions. I have no further questions for you. Nonetheless, I just wish to finally ask you about Madam So Suchit, who is Mr. Khieu Samphan's wife. Did he have anything to do at the kitchen, or was there another person who controlled or supervised this kitchen other than her? Response. I don't know how to respond to this question. I was too young at that time to be informed of all these matters, and I think I had no reason to know anything about this. Counsel, I think this is going to be the final question. Can you tell the chamber whether you note that Khieu Samphan and Madam So Suchit share the same house, or did these two people live in separate houses? Response. At that time, when I worked there, they lived in separate homes. Question, where did they live? Response, they lived in different houses in case 3 offers. Counsel, thank you, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, thank you, and I have no further questions. And thank you, Mr. President and Your Honors, for allowing me to put questions for the witness. The President, thank you, Counsel. Counsels for Mr. Nguyen Chia, would you please advise the Chamber as to whether you would like to put questions to the witness? Counsel Son Arun. Mr. President and Your Honors, counsels for Mr. Nguyen Chia do not have any questions to put for the witness. Thank you. The President, thank you. Mr. Leng Cheung, your testimony now comes to a conclusion and you are now excused. The Chamber is very grateful to your attendance and we appreciate your patience, and we believe that your testimony helps ascertain the truth. With that, we would like to wish you all the very best and safe travels back home. The court session today comes to a conclusion already. The next session will be convened on Wednesday at 9 a.m. On Wednesday, we will be hearing TCW 801. With that, the Chamber wishes to inform the parties to the proceedings and the public, and the Chamber will not be sitting tomorrow because it is a public holiday. Court officer is now instructed to assist Mr. Leng Cheung and make sure that he is returned home safe and sound. And Jury Counsel Muang Sowan, who is here with us, is also now excused. Security personnel are now directed to bring Mr. Kyew Sompon and Mr. Nguyen Chia back to the detention facility and have them returned to the courtroom after tomorrow, which is the 19th of June 2013, before 9 a.m. Mr. Nguyen Chia can be returned to his holding cell downstairs, where he can observe the proceedings through audio-visual link. The court is adjourned.